All right, so let's talk about blessings today. There's a passage in Matthew where, and you can also find it in Luke and Mark, or Mark and John. No. I think it's Luke and Mark. Luke and Mark. Yeah, it's Matthew, Luke, and Mark. I believe it's in, but I know it's only in 3 of the Gospels. But anyway, y'all probably familiar with this passage where Jesus talks about you can't put new wine into old bottles. He says you can't put new wine into old bottles. Now he says if you put new wine into old bottles, that the bottles will burst, the wine will spill up on the floor. And he said that the best thing to do, what you're supposed to do is get new bottles for the new wine. You put new wine in new bottles, and then both the bottles and the wine are preserved. So I believe one of the things that Jesus is talking about in this passage is blessings. There are 3 things that I see when I hear that passage. There is a separation, a preparation, and a preservation. Now, with the wine bottles, Jesus said you can't put them into old wine bottles. So the separation process will be discarding the old bottles. That's the separation process. Then the preparation process will be getting new bottles to put the wine in. And then, as Jesus said, once you put the wine in there and seal it up, now the preservation process begins. Now this bottle will maintain this wine, and it's going to age, and it's going to become better and do what it's supposed to do. Like so let's take that and let's use an example from real life with material things. Let's say I need to buy a new sofa. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I have to get rid of my old sofa. I have to move it out of the way. That will be the separation. Then the next thing I got to do is I got to sweep my floor or mop my floor, if I have hardwood floors, or vacuum my floors if I have carpet, and get it all nice and ready for the new sofa set to come in. So that's the preparation stage. And then the next thing I would do is, once I receive the couch, my new sofa, then I'll have to keep it up. I have to keep it up because it's brand new. I have to tell the kids don't jump on it. It may make some of the rest of the house look old because it's so new. So I may have to put some new pictures up, maybe paint or something like that. But there's a process that I have to go through to maintain the couch that I have just received. So that will be the preservation process. Now, sometimes preparation and separation can be the same thing. Sometimes simply separating yourself from something will prepare you for the blessing, but sometimes there's a separation, a preparation, and a preservation involved in receiving a blessing. Now, let's take a life example. Let's say you have a woman that has 3 men that she's sleeping with. I'm just giving an example. Say she's sleeping with one man because he has money. Say she's sleeping with the other guy because she just likes the sex. Then say that there's another guy that she's sleeping with and she actually likes this guy. She actually has feelings for him, but he's married. Now, at the same time, she's dealing with these 3 men, and she feels she has her reasons to deal with them, but at the same time, she's praying to God, asking God to send her a blessing, asking God to send her a husband. Now, God is more than likely not going to bless her with a husband because she's not ready for one. You see, she would have to first separate herself from these guys. If she doesn't, well, this may cause confusion later on down the line, because her new man may come along and she's steady getting phone calls from these old guys, and he may catch her messing with them or whatever because she hasn't separated herself from them. That's one thing. Then there may be, let's say that she does separate herself from them, but she does no preparation. Say she just separated herself from these guys yesterday and she meets Mr. Right today. Well, Mr. Right may want to know about her past, and he may be like, what'd you do yesterday? Well, yesterday she was a hoe. So she hasn't prepared her. Now, she may have separated herself from these guys, but she hasn't been alone long enough to actually focus on her and get herself right, for this guy. So there was no preparation. There was no separation or no preparation. Now, let's just say that she separated herself from these guys. She stayed single for a long time. Now she's ready for someone. Okay, this guy comes, but she's not ready to be a wife yet. She's used to being alone by herself, You know, she's not really ready to be a wife. She's okay with being a single woman. But now that when it comes to marriage, now let's say she's married this guy. Well, now you two are one. Now your body belongs to him now. Now you have to be submissive to this husband. Let's say she's not ready to do all these things that she needs to keep her husband. So that's the preservation process that, where she's not, once this blessing has come, now you have to maintain this blessing. So again, these are three things that I notice when it comes to blessing, is that we have to be able to not only separate ourselves from whatever's causing us not to get this blessing. If there's nothing that needs to be separated, then perhaps we have to prepare ourselves for this blessing. And and if no preparation is needed, then once we receive our blessing, there may be something that we need to do to keep that blessing once we receive it. Give you some biblical examples and then I'm done. Let's look at the Israelites. The Israelites had so many kings, and a lot of them never prepared themselves, or they never separated themselves from the evil. They never separated. So many kings they had that were evil, and they never once tried to separate themselves from that evil. So their kingdom was taken from them every time. Let's look at what's his name? The prodigal son. The prodigal son, he separated himself from his father to receive a blessing, but he never prepared himself for that blessing. His father gave him all of his inheritance. He went out there and squandered it because he didn't have a plan. He just went out there and just squandered it. So he didn't prepare himself, nor did he preserve that blessing. Let's look at Solomon, King Solomon. King Solomon was separated from his father. David died, and Solomon became the king. He was prepared to be the king. David, there's so many verses in the Bible that shows where he taught Solomon things. David taught Solomon things. In the book of Proverbs, you will see that Solomon says that David and his mother taught him things, that he was, important to them. But so he was separated and he was prepared. But Solomon didn't maintain his blessings. He didn't do what he had to do to keep the blessings that he received. He had God. God told him in the beginning, just tell me what you want. But in the end, Solomon's heart left from God because he was so focused on women. So he went through the separation process. He went through the preparation process, but his heart was not able to maintain. He was not able to go through the preservation process. He did not maintain his blessings. So again, let's go back to the prodigal son. After he lost everything, that was his separation. And then when he said, you know what, I'm going to go back to my daddy and let him take care of me, that was his preparation. He left and went back. He got his mind right. And when he went back, well, the story makes it, we can assume that, he did what he had to do because he went back home. It doesn't say he left again. They celebrated because he went back home. So his blessing was probably maintained at that point. So again, like I say, this ain't written in stone, but this is just what I see when I read the Bible and Jesus talks about those wine bottles and how they busted open, how you had to get rid of the old to obtain the new, and how that the new preserved what was good. So just think about that before we start asking God for blessings. Sometimes we ask God for things that we're not ready for. Sometimes we gotta move away from certain people, and sometimes we just have to drop certain mentalities or certain behaviors that we have. Then we have to make sure that we're prepared for whatever we want from God. We have to ask God, make us right so that I can receive this. Show me what I need to do to get this. Show me what I need to do. A lot of times it's better to do things, to ask God to show us how to do stuff instead of just asking God to give me something, and then once you receive it, well, then that's when we have to make sure that, okay, now that God's blessed me, I don't turn away from God now because I got what I want. No, you still have to stay with God because God can take his blessings away. Now, I'm not talking about gifts and callings. Gifts and callings are irrevocable. But when it comes to blessings, when it comes to anointing, when it comes to his spirit, these things can be taken away just as they were given. So let's just remember that once we receive blessings, that's not the end. That's not what we got to say, okay, I got it now I can wild out again. But anyway, man, I hope this message was helpful to somebody. That's all I got for today. Any questions, man, hit me up. Love your neighbors, love God, and be watchful, y'all.